And you know what time it is? It's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all.
It's time for KP's Video News, y'all. And oh man, when I woke up this morning, this thing was blue. They're watching the red hot Dodgers over here. Go Dodgers. Watching the red hot Dodgers getting busy. They're playing right now. Like they I think the score is like 3-2 so far. Anyway, go Dodgers. So I'm doing a couple of follow-ups here. I got a follow-up here I need to come up with. And police officer in Waukeagan, Illinois was fired. He was fired after fatal shooting involved unarmed black couple. And the police officer who opened fire on an unarmed black couple in Waukeagan, Illinois, killing a 19-year-old Marcellis Stinnette, has been fired. The Waukeagan, Illinois officer, who has still not been named, was fired late Friday, according to Waukeagan Chief of Police Wayne Wells. In the evening hours of October 23rd, the city of Waukeagan terminated the officer that discharged his firearm during that incident for multiple policy and procedure violations, Wells said in a statement. Marcellis Stinnete was killed Tuesday night when an officer opened fire on the vehicle he was a passenger in at about 11:55 p.m., according to police. And Waukeagan Police Department Commander Edgar Navarro said earlier this week that Stinnete was sitting in the passenger seat of a suspicious car that was approached by an officer. The car fled and was later pulled over by a second officer. That officer exited his vehicle, and the vehicle that he was investigating allegedly began to reverse toward the officer. The officer then pulled out his duty weapon and fired into the vehicle that was reversing. Tafara Williams, the mother of Stinnete's child and driver of the vehicle, was struck in the hand and stomach and is still recovering in the hospital. Her injuries were not life-threatening. Both officers had been placed on administrative duty while the shooting was being investigated. The investigation is being handled by Illinois State Police, a fact reiterated by the police chief in his statement Friday night. The Illinois State Police are continuing to conduct their independent investigation, he wrote. Once the investigation has been completed, it will be turned over to the Lake County, Illinois State's Attorney's Office for review. Prominent civil rights attorneys Ben Crump and Antonio Ramanucci announced early Friday that he would be representing the 22-year-old Williams. Ms. Williams' legal team will begin our own investigation into what happened during that incident because we do not trust the police narrative in this case. We have seen over and over that the official report when police kill black people is far too often missing or misrepresenting details, Crump said in a statement. We will share our findings with the public when we have uncovered the truth. Crump and Ramanucci also represent George Floyd and Daniel Prude, both killed by police earlier this year. Waukeagan Mayor Sam Cunningham said at a news conference Wednesday he was worried about violent protests in the city, and he said he was nervous about the uncertainty out there. And protests have remained relatively small and peaceful in the days since the killing. And they didn't reveal, actually, they said he was fired. He has been fired. The cop that did the shooting has been fired. And they said, what were the charges? Let me see, what were the charges again? Let me see here. I just read the charges, but let me read them again. Okay. He was fired because he discharged his firearm during an incident for multiple policy and procedure violations. He was fired for multiple policy and procedure violations. That's what he was fired for. They didn't say he was fired for the murder itself, but for the violations of procedures that he didn't follow. And so got to keep up with that case. This is the first update that I've been given for that. The police in the Marcellis Stinnete alleged shooting in Waukeagan, Illinois, has been fired. They still haven't released his name yet. And we have a Black Life activist details FBI visit to her home. He said, "This is why Trump is so dangerous." So Donald Trump's incitement of racism and his supporters has blasted by Black Lives Matter activist Alicia Garza on Friday. Said the FBI visited my house today, she revealed. They arrested a man in Idaho on weapons charges who they believe was affiliated with a white supremacist group. They found my name on a list in his home alongside others, she explained. That's why this president is so dangerous, she continued. He is stoking fires he has no intention of controlling. I'm okay, y'all, but this shit is not okay. Vote this sucker out, she suggested, for real. So she went out there with the story because basically her name was on the list that this clown, and I'm getting ready to do his part right now, this clown that they nicknamed the Bernie Bro, with a van full of guns, explosives, $509,000, reportedly considered assassinating Joe Biden. This is a 19-year-old, reportedly had thousands of child porn images and videos and on his computer and on his laptop. And a 19-year-old man with a van full of guns and explosives was arrested in North Carolina after he made threats online and contemplated assassinating Joe Biden, according to the court documents. And around 11 a.m. on May 28th, the Kannapolis Police Department was asked to tow in an abandoned van from the parking lot of a third bank in Kannapolis, North Carolina. Through the window, officers spotted an AR-15, a box of .380 caliber handgun, a canister of explosive material tannerite, and a box of .556 caliber ammunition. The van, which reportedly belonged to Alexander Treisman, was towed away and was later searched. Inside the vehicle found about $509,000 in U.S. currency, believed to be Treisman's inheritance, books about survival, bomb making, improvised weapons in Islam, drawing of swastikas and planes crashing in the buildings, and a Sig Sauer AR rifle, a 9mm Luger, a Kel-Tec Sub 2000, a 22 caliber rifle, a Russian Mosin Nagant M91 bolt action rifle, according to the search warrant application. Later that day, Treisman arrived at the bank in a Honda Accord and asked about the towed van, according to court documents. Bank employees reportedly contacted the police, and they took Treisman into custody. Police searched Treisman's Honda Accord and discovered two more handguns, a .380 caliber and a 9mm Luger, found concealed in a clothes hamper, court paper stated. Treisman, originally from Seattle, was allegedly carrying multiple driver's licenses from 3 states, Washington, California, and Florida. Treisman was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. According to officials say, local police contacted the FBI. A day after his arrest, the suspect reportedly called his mother, Kimberly Treisman. During that phone call, which was recorded, the mother suggested that he should jump bail. Wow, the mother's a gangster too. And local police and investigators from the Joint Treisman Task Force reportedly asked Treisman about the disturbing materials found in his van. During the interview, Treisman disclosed he has an interest in terrorist incidents and mass shootings. Treisman conveyed to the interviewing officers that he had an interest in terrorist incidents and that he watched on YouTube videos and read Wikipedia articles about such incidents. According to court documents, friends and family stopped speaking to him because of his remarks and jokes about mass shootings and the 9/11 terror attacks. Treisman drove around the country, purchasing firearms in different states, authorities claim. Law enforcement said they discovered an account on iFunny, a social media platform where users can post and comment on memes alleged to belong to Treisman. The search warrant application says Treisman posted a meme about killing Joe Biden. And April 15th, Treisman allegedly shared an image on iFunny with the caption, "Should I kill Joe Biden?" In a conversation with another user on iFunny, Treisman reportedly said he was going to do a Columbine do a column for a while. The other user condemned him for wanting to harm the innocent. Tresman responded, "My hatred is for the complacent American people who would turn you in for their own satisfaction. But aside from former goals, my eyes are on the future. If anything, I have to save Bernie." Investigators concluded that Bernie's mention in the alleged threat was a reference to Bernie Sanders, who dropped out of the presidential race on April 8th, which paved the way for Joe Biden to get the Democratic presidential nomination. And court documents between March and May, Tresman made internet searches regarding information about Joe Biden's home, address, state gun laws, rifle parts, and night vision goggles. The investigation determined Tresman's activity was consistent with the surveillance and attack plan connected to a possible threat against Joe Biden or other targeted act of violence, according to the search warrant. The teenager allegedly wrote a note on his phone that outlined a plot for a mass shooting at a mall food court either on Christmas or Black Friday, and the search warrant application states that he made a checklist that ended in execute. Wow, this guy was out of his mind. Investigators claim that they found a trove of sexually explicit photos and images of minors on Tresman's phone. Child pornography was found on about 8 of these devices, 3 laptops, 3 hard drives, an additional cell phone, and a flash drive. And a total of 1,200 videos, 6,700 images of child pornography content were found on the defendant's devices, in addition to 637 videos and images of child pornography containing sadism and masochism content. Tresman reportedly had no prior criminal history before his arrest, and the federal magistrate judge justified Tresman's detention without bail on child pornography charges because of the other evidence against him. No combination of available release conditions would reasonably assure the safety of the community, and that a preponderance of evidence establishes that no conditions would endure defendant's presence in court, the judge stated. And Tresman was denied bail on October 6th, pending trial, and is currently being held in Durham County, North Carolina. That's right. Got to keep him there. The guy's sick. And I'm just glad the police did their job that time. They did their job and they caught this guy before he can get out there and do damage to people. Like I said in the story previous to that the Black Lives Matter activist, the FBI contacted her and they said her name was on the list of Alicia Garza said her name was on the list, on this guy's list. He had a list of people that he wanted to shoot and kill. And thank God they was able to expose that. And talk about exposure, as the White House nationalist ties are exposed further, its defenders go on the attack. So, you have the Trump White House embrace of white nationalism within the halls of its administration was exposed in even greater depth this week when the Southern Poverty Law Center Michael Edison Hayden published an in-depth examination of the careers of Julia Hahn, the current Deputy Communications Director and longtime ally of Senior Advisor Stephen Miller, whose own white nationalist ties were previously exposed by Hayden. These are, moreover, hardly the only administration figures with extremist backgrounds, and as if to obscure the reality these reports substantiate, Trump's defenders in the right-wing media are now attacking the journalists working to expose them by claiming that somehow they are actually part of a deep state operation to smear Trump supporters. At least that was the story that Tucker Carlson was pitching on Fox News in the last few days. Julia Hahn's current role at the White House at least partially entails helping Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany prepare her press briefings, but she has held several jobs in the administration prior to this one, primarily as an aide to Trump himself. In that capacity, as Hayden reports, Hahn has involved in a behind-the-scenes campaign to defend Miller in 2017 from a flood of negative reports about his extremist background. Prior to being hired by the White House, she had worked first as a producer for Fox News, Laura Ingraham, who has her own history of promoting white nationalist themes. Somewhere around the end of her tenure there, Celeste, she attended a writer's workshop sponsored by an explicit racist white nationalist publishing house, Social Contract Press, notorious for publishing a vile race war screed, Camp of the Saints. Her next job was at Breitbart News, where she contributed significantly to the online news site alt-right white nationalist content, particularly during the years it was overseen by Trump's former advisor, Stephen Bannon. Hahn also developed a close working relationship with Peter Primlow, publisher of the openly nativist white nationalist site VDare. During this time, and among her regular storylines, such audaciously promoted the Iowa congressional candidacy of white nationalist Paul Nehlen, particularly following his request for a discussion about physically removing every Muslim citizen from the United States. Wow. None of this is particularly new, and Trump has empowered far-right nationalists and conspiracy theorist elements within the walls of his administration and pursued an agenda friendly to extremist elements from the very beginning. Senior Advisor Miller is the architect of Trump's immigration policies, not to mention his eliminationist scare campaigns about immigrant caravans and refugees from the Middle East, whose deep ties to white nationalists were exposed last year by Southern Poverty Law Center. So these guys have been exposed, and Trump is right in the middle of it. The Boogaloo movement and the Proud Boys and all the rest of them. He refuses. He has never, ever denounced those groups. So, you know, hey, so this is the real deal. So now you got another group of, you know, crazy people out there called QAnon, and has an outgrowth of supposed cache of emails from his son and all this stuff, and it's like a bunch of crazy stuff going on out here, folks. People got to get ready, man, and be ready, because you don't know what's going to jump off, and we just got to be ready, because all this stuff is right now is all alleged, up until they decide they want to follow up on it. So we have to be ready, aware, and able to, you know, read between the lines. You got to read between the lines on a lot of this garbage, man, because you know, it's out there. All the information is out there. You just got to be vigilant, and you gotta find it. Anyway, the Red Hot Dodgers out there doing their thing. Go Dodgers. Peace.